Cryptography attacks. Now, cryptography is a method of uh, changing the normal text into scrambled text. Scrambled text, that is like changing it to scrambled uh, way or code, so that the normally users can't understand it. Normal user will not be able to understand. So securing the data, securing the mostly securing the sensitive information by using the cryptography techniques, encryption techniques, hashing, so that we can secure the sensitive informations, just like the passwords and credentials and other credentials or other sensitive informations. Then also for the communication also we do the cryptography technique. We use the cryptography technique to secure the communications by using the encryptions, either symmetric or asymmetric encryptions. Now, we use cryptography attacks to attack those cryptography ways to detect, to get this sensitive information. So attacker use these cryptography attacks to get those sensitive information which is protected by the cryptography. So attackers, the cryptography attacks are based on the assumption that the cryptoless has access to the encrypted information. Now first cryptography attack, the attacker do based on like what they have, like they have the encrypted value, they have the encrypted information, encrypted sensitive information, they able to get the information. Now they want to get the information after decrypting it. So basically cryptography attack comes when the attacker get the access of the information. They have the access of the information, they get the data, but they are not able to see the data because it is encrypted. So in that place the cryptography attack comes. And cryptography attack, by using the cryptography attack, attacker will try to do what? Try to decrypt the data, try to get the sensitive information which is secured by the cryptography. So these are the different attacks the attacker can do, like ciphertext only attack, chosen key attack, known plain text attack, adaptive chosen plain text attack, chosen plain text timing attack, chosen ciphertext, or robot hose attack also. Now what those attacks? Those ciphertext only attack. In this, attacker has access to the ciphertext. Now goal of this attack to recover the encryption key from the ciphertext. That means the ciphertext, the encrypted value we have, the attacker has the encrypted value. Now attacker goal is to get the encryption key so that it can decrypt the other informations also. So by using this, it can get that what are the different ways of encryption, like what are the cryptography method or algorithm it has used, and try to extract the key from it. Then adaptive chosen plain text attack. In this, attacker makes a series of interactive queries, choosing subsequent plain text based on the information from the previous encryption. So based on the previous encryption information, it will try to use or try to query interactive queries, send a series of interactive queries to make or to choose the subsequent plain text, so that it can get the encryption key. Then chosen plain text attack. In this, attacker defines his own plain text and feed it into the cipher and analyzes the resulting ciphertext. Now in this, what the attacker do? Attacker feeds its own plain text into the cipher. It knows now the cipher, the algorithm used to encrypt the value, encrypt the information. So it added its own cipher plain text into it, try to see what is the result, and then try to match the result with the existing encrypted value which the attacker has. Then the known plain text attack. Here attacker has knowledge of some part of the plain text. Now using this information, the key used to generate the ciphertext is deduced so as to cipher other messages. So in this case, the attacker has some information about the plain text. Now it knows that this is the plain text and this is the ciphertext of that plain text. So it can see that it can generate or it can get the encryption or cipher key, or it can get the key, and then it can use that key to decipher the other messages also. Chosen ciphertext attack. Here attacker obtains the plain text corresponding to an arbitrary set of ciphertext of his own choosing. Again here attacker is doing what? It is obtaining the plain text corresponding to the arbitrary set of the ciphertext of his own choosing. Then the robber hose attack. Robber hose attack is what? Extraction of the encrypted secrets, that is the password to an encrypted file from the person by coercion or torture. Now this is what simple attacker can do. What? It can torture the person who knows the key or password, encryption key, that is the password of that encrypted value or encrypted information. So it will do what? It will lure the user or torture the user to get the information also, that person who knows the information. Then chosen key attack. Here a generalization of the chosen text attack. Now here the chosen text attack, that means the text it is encrypting, so it will try to choose the it will try to generalize the text so that it can get the encryption key. Then timing attack. It is based on the repeatedly measuring the execution times of modular exponential operations. Now it will take like how much time it will take to do the cipher of normal text. So based on that it will try to get what the attackers the ciphertext encryption key also. Then what is the code breaking methodology? So code breaking methodology includes trickery and decoy, deceit, brute force, one-time pad, frequency analysis. These are the different methodology of code breaking is there. Trickery and deceit means it involves the use of social engineering techniques to extract the cryptography keys. So in this it will try to use it will try to trick the user to get the encryption key. Trickery. Now brute force, in this cryptography keys are discovered by trying every possible combination, running the brute force attack against the cryptography information and encrypted values so that it can use all the possible combinations to get the key or get the real value. One-time pad. In this, a one-time pad contains what? A many non-repeating groups of letters or numbers keys which are chosen randomly. It is just like the brute force attack, but here it is using the one-time pad that contains many non-repeating groups of letters or even numbers. Now brute force actually do what? It use all the possible combination, all. Now here it is in one time, it is just like the brute force, but it do what? It use a chosen non-repeating group of letters which we feel or which the attacker feels can be the key, can be the value or can be the key. Frequency analysis. It is the study of the frequency of letters or groups or letters in a ciphertext. So it works on the fact that in any given stretch of written language, certain letters and combinations of letters occurs with varying frequencies. So it will try to see how many times some specific letters or characters are coming in the ciphertext. So it guesses that combinations of letters, and it may vary in the frequencies also. That is what the frequency analysis, how frequently some letters or group of letters are coming. Now the brute force is basically the attacking method where we combine or we will try all the possible combinations, but it is not feasible because the attack scheme is what? Very simple. It is defeating a cryptographic scheme by trying a large number of possible keys until the correct encryption key is discovered. Encryption keys, that is the password. So brute force attack is a high resource and time intensive process, however more certain to achieve results. But this is what it will give you 100% guarantee that it will achieve the result. But the problem is the time it takes and the resources it takes to do the brute force. But this is 100%, it will give you the 100% that it will recover the key, but problem is that the resources and the time intensivities. So success factor is what? Success of this brute force attack depends on the length of the key, time constraint, and system security mechanism. So the total success of this brute force definitely gets success, but the success depends on the different aspects, like the length of the key, how many keys we are using in the password, like how many letters we have in the password, how many characters we have in the password and the password key. Then time constraints, then also the system security mechanism, like what type of encryption or hashing we use, how many bits we are using, how many bit encryptions are there. So for example, it is the estimated time, it is here. Like for example, if you have $2,000 PC, that is one PC, and can be achieved by an individual. Any individual can afford to have this PC of 200,000 machine. Now if the individual is having that, now it is trying to crack 40-bit password, the 40-bit encrypted value with the minimum or maximum 5 characters. Like the key, password key is 5 characters, and it is having a 40-bit encryption. So it will crack definitely after 1.4 minutes. That's good. But now suppose if the characters increase and the bit increase, like 56 bit with the 7 characters, now it can go up to 73 days. Still we can say it is achievable, but now when it goes on to 8 characters of 64 bit, then it becomes 50 years. 50 years for this kind of PC to crack this encryption by using the brute force. Now if it is more than 8 character, then it is very unfeasible. Now we can say that if it is 128 bit of 16 characters, it will take up to 2 raised to 20 years, 10 raised to 20 years for this individual PC to crack this brute force, crack this encrypted value by using the brute force. Now it is not look feasible, it is not look logical. 8 raised to 20 years is actually a lot of years. Now if we increase the resource, let's say if we have a $100,000 machine, now this can be achieved by a company, not an individual is not able to achieve that. But suppose a company can achieve this, it can get the 100,000 PC. Now if it is there, so what 40-bit 5 character password can be cracked within 2 seconds. It will not take much time. Within 2 seconds it will crack. It will crack by using the brute force attack. Now if it is increased to 7 characters of 56 bit, then this kind of machine can also take 35 hours. Okay, it is possible. Now if it is increased to 8 characters of 64 bit, now it will get into 1 year. This kind of machine can still take it into 1 year to break the password by using break the encryption key by using the brute force attack. Now as the character increased, like it goes to 128 bit of 16 characters, now it get almost impossible for this kind of machine also. It goes 10 raised to 19 years. It is not hours, it is not days, it is not months, it is years. 10 raised to 19 years. Now let's say we invest more money for the machine, for the resources. Let's get the machine of $1 million. $1 million that can be achieved by a huge organization or a state government. Now even that kind of resource when we put, then still the 40-bit 5 character password can be cracked within 0.2 seconds. That's good. 56-bit 7 character password can be cracked within 3.45 hours. That is also good. Now when it goes to 64-bit 8 characters, then again this will also take up to 37 days. 37 days. Now when it increased more than 8 characters is good. If it goes to 128 bit of 16 characters, then it can also take what? It can also take 10 raised to 18 years, and that is a lot of years, and it is almost impossible. It is almost, we can say, impossible. Now you can see by the comparison, you can see that the powerful the resources you invest is still you're not able to crack the password if it is more than 8 characters. And even if it is 8 characters and you're getting the $1 million machine to crack it, still it will take 37 days. And that is why we have a policy, we should call policy to change the password after every 30 days or 32 days. Then what happens if even they crack the password within 37 days, next day when they try this password, the password has already changed. So because of this reason, when you go for some banking site or some secure sites, when you create your account, they force you to create a password which is more than 8 characters with the complex characters mixed with the special characters, numbers and letters, capital and small also. And they force you to create the password more than 8 characters. So if it is more than 8 characters or even 8 characters, then almost it will take 37-40 days to crack the password. And that is for on the biggest machine. If you have the 1 million server, if you have 1 million machine, a machine of the $1 million, still it will not take still it will take 37 or 40 days to crack the password. And if they crack it, then what? When they try to use it, the password was expired here. So that is the reason some secure sites ask you or force you to create passwords complex and more than 8 characters. Now the brute force is actually possible to crack with the password. Brute force with the brute force we can crack the password, any password, but it is the resources and the time it takes. It makes almost impossible if it is more than 8 characters. Now man in the middle attack on digital signature scheme. Now this attack works by encrypting from one end and decrypting from the other end, thus meeting in the middle, and it can be used for forging signatures, even on the digital signatures that use multiple encryption schemes. Now here what attacker can do, attacker can come in the middle of the communication and break the encryption in between, so that it can see the text clearly and in the clear text format, where it can do what? It can forge the signatures also, digital signatures also. So what the attacker do, suppose it is sending this John encrypted with one first key, immediate cipher text 1, and then decrypt with this second key. Now what the attacker do here, actually it will come in the middle and it will break the encryption, and we can say the cipher text in between. So what it do here, it will create the one secure connection, encrypted connection from the server to itself, and then from itself to the client. Now when the client send any information, it will be encrypted till the attacker, and then attacker sees the information, then attacker do what? It will encrypt the information and send it to the server. Now server feels that this is a secure connection, because it feels that the attacker machine is the real user who is using the communication, and the victim machine, the user machine, feels that this is the attacker machine is the server and I am doing the right communication with the right machine. But basically the attacker machine works in between the client. For the client it works as a server, and for the server it works as a client, and then in between it forwards the connection from the client to the server and server to the client. Now they feel they are doing the encrypted connection, but in between the attacker is decrypting the communication and seeing what is it going on. Then side channel attack. This side channel attack is a physical attack. It's a physical attack performed on a cryptographic device or crypto system to gain sensitive information. Cryptography generally implemented in hardware or software which runs on physical devices such as semiconductors. So these semiconductor devices include resistors and transistors and so on. So these physical devices are affected by various environmental factors that include power consumption, electromagnetic field, light emissions, and timing and delay and sound. So in side channel attack, an attacker monitors these channels environmental factors and try to acquire the information useful for the cryptolysis. Then the information collected in this process is termed as side channel information. Then side channel attack are no way related to traditional theoretical form of attacks like brute force attack. The concept of side channel attack is based on the way the cryptographic algorithms are implemented rather than at the algorithm itself. So how they are implemented physically, it is depend on that, like how it is implemented on the devices. Now scenario for the side channel attack. Assume that an encrypted data is to be decrypted and displayed a plain text inside the trusted zone. So at the time of decryption in a crypto system, physical environmental factors such as timing, power disruptions, etc. acting on the component of a computer or recorded by an attacker. Now the attacker analyzes this information in an attempt to gain useful information for cryptolysis. So for example, here what is it happening? This input data cipher text is going here with the cryptographic operations. Example, it is doing the decryption. Now decryption means what? This data is to be decrypted. Now what the side channel analysis do here? It will do what? It will see the timing information, power disruption and electromagnetic fields, light, also what is happening in the physical devices. It records those information to do what? To get the cipher text cipher and to get the cipher information about the cryptanalysis. After decrypting, the data will go into the main channel, but in between the attacker gain the access of the record the information about these physical information and use that information, analyze the information to gain the useful information about the for the cryptanalysis. When you try to do the cracking, it will use that information that how this cryptography works on physical level. Then the cryptolysis tools, like we can say crypt tools. These are the cryptolysis tools we have, like crypt tool. This crypt tool is a free e-learning program in the area of cryptography and cryptolysis, and is also having some sub projects like crypt tool 1, crypt tool 2, jcrypt, crypt tool online also. In this we can do use the information to crypt it, and we can see or we can analyze like how it is going to be encrypted, what is the hex value and other information. So we can encrypt the text or value by using these different encryption algorithms. We can use the RC2, 4, DES, triple DES, AES. So we can use the symmetric key. We can use asymmetric also. We can use hybrid also. So we can do crypt the values by using this crypt tool. Then we have the other also, like the other tools also, like CryptoBench, AlphaPair. We have Medigo, SubCipher, Evercrack, Crank, Benzo, Zephyr. So these are the other tools we have for the cryptolysis. Then we have some online MD5 decryption tools also. MD5 is a hashing algorithm, so we want to decrypt that hash. So we can go for some online tools also, which is used to do the decryption of these online hashes. MD5 hashes also. So this is the crypt tool which we can use to do encrypt some values or decrypt some values. Like for example, suppose first we have a text file. I will create one. I will create one text file here. This is my secure file. Under the secure file, I have some bank data, credit card, numbers, account numbers, so this is like my important informations. Now we can do what we can secure them by using this. So I will choose my file. It is here. So this is my file. Now I want to encrypt or decrypt the value. I can select this. And I can go for here. I can use the symmetric classical way of doing the cryptography, or we can use the modern way by using the algorithms, or we can use the asymmetric key, and we can go for the hybrid also. Let's say for example I will go with this. I will do the DES encryption. So it says enter the key using the hexadecimal character. So it says that enter the key to decrypt the to decryption value, like what is the key for you to encrypt or decrypt this value. So I will say okay. I will give 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, then 9 8 7 6 4 5 3, and I will say encrypt. Now you can see the value is encrypted here, and I will save it as it is. And then whenever I want to decrypt it, so I will open the file here under this, and I will say I did it this DES. So the value was 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, then 9 8 7 6 4 3, and I will say decrypt. Okay, we have to select the and we can see here the value, and also we can see the key because it is there. I will have to save first. And it is going to save as the hex file. Now this is the file. When you try to open it with the notepad, you can see this. So this is what we can encrypt and decrypt by using this crypt tool. We have the cryptography tools also. Then we have the calculator also, disk encryption tools also there. We have hash calculators. Now this is the hash calculator. We can put any value here. Then we can do compare with this different hash. I want to do MD5, SH1 and these different, and I will do what? We can open the file also and I will calculate it. Okay, it is actually not file. I want to go for the text string. Tech network. Now you can see this is the MD5 hash for this word, tech network. This is the SHA. This is RIPD. This is CRC hash. So we can get other also, like we can get the MD4 also. We can get SHA 256, 384, 512 also. We can get MD5 hash also. So we can compare this hash with the other hash. So this is for the file. If you have any file, you can compare the hash for the file. You can generate the hash. You can go for the text string, or you can also go for the hex string. Like for example, for the file, if you select some file from here, let's select the readme file here. Then this is the hash value of that file. Now this hash value we can match with the hash value of the original file, so that we can see to manage the integrity. Same as we have the other tool. We have MD5 calculator. This is, it requires .NET framework to install first, then we can install this. Now it is installing because I have installed the .NET framework 2.0. Now this is also a MD5 calculator, MD5 hash calculator, just like what the hash cal. Hash calculators are useful to manage the integrity of the file sometimes. Integrity of the file. Now how? Like suppose for you, for example, when you go to online to get some softwares. If you go online to get some softwares, for example, I am going into Google. I will search for the Putty. I want to download Putty. So this kind of software, when we try to download, so what they do, they give the signatures also. These signatures are for integrity. That means when you download these softwares, so you can match the signatures also, so that is it right file or not, or suppose someone has modified the file or someone has changed the file. So for example, if I download this, if I download this file, so this is the signature for the file. Let's say if I right click on the signature, so it is downloading here. If I say open, so this is the signature for this. So just like these softwares, we have other softwares also where we try to download the software, so they provide the signature or hash values for that. Like these are the hash sections, these are the checksum file for it. So like for example, I want to get hash file, so this is the hash value of those softwares which we get. This is 32-bit and this is the hash of that. This is PuTTY 64-bit MSI installer and this is the hash for it. So these are the hashes we have, and we just have to compare the hash with the file. It is the whole hash file it is given. This is the total hash. If you can see, this is the full hash of every software product we have here. So for example, if I want to download this, this one, this is for 64-bit x86 edition. I will save this. So this is what I downloaded here. Now the hash value for that I have to search here. Windows 64-bit. So these are Windows 64-bit PuTTY installer, or this is the one, I think. This is the one, and I think this is the hash, MD5 hash. Okay, so that is the one. Where is it? Where is it? It is here. So this is the hash value. Now we just have to compare the hash value of the file which we have downloaded. So we can go to the hash calculator and we can select to file and we browse the file. So file is under the downloads. So this is the file. I open and calculate, and this is what the MD5 hash. Then we just have to match the hash where it is matching. Is it matching there or not? And this is the hash. You can see it is matching here. That means the file is genuine. So the file is genuine because the hash is matching here. Okay, this is this side. This is the software and this is the hash. So it is matching. That means the hash is right. That means the software is not modified or anyone has not modified the file in between, because the hash which is showing on the site, it is the same hash which we get after calculating the hash of the file which we downloaded. So these are to manage the integrity of the files. For PKI infrastructure, what we can do, we can purchase the certificate online. Now for these online certification sites, like we can go for online we can go for Komodo, we can go for Versign. We can go for DigiCert, we can go for the other services. Now those services will not give you the free services. They will ask us to charge. That means if I go there, then we have to purchase those online PKI infrastructure certificates. So those PKIs will give you the certificate based on our requirement. We can purchase it for the web server, for the devices, for the other communication, for VPN or anything else. So based on that, we can purchase those certificates, and for using the services we have to pay amount. We have to pay amount for it. So depend on the type of certificate we want and how long we want, we have to pay according to that. Now otherwise what we can do, we can use our self-signed certificate. We can use our self-signed certificate. Now self-signed certificate is not that secure because it stores the key and onto the same server, same machine. That is not secure. But these services provided by these online servers, they do what? They secure the service, they secure the tickets and the services, that certificates or master certificate and the private key, master key, they store it into their servers and secure environment and the secure servers. So we can get the certificate for the TLS manager, IoT devices. We can secure the software manager, document signing also we can use. Now first we have to make an account here, we have to pay the money. Otherwise we can use self-signed certificate. Now self-signed certificate, that means suppose we are having the web services here. Now right now this is my server, I am not having a web servers. So first I will install the web servers and I will protect the web servers by using the self-signed certificate. So we can protect the servers by using the self-signed certificates, or we can use the online certification services. it will take a little time to install. Now this is installed. Now when it is installed, it is start running also. Like I go to this IIS information IIS manager. This is our server here, and under the server we have the site. Now this is the default site and it is actually running, but it is not secure. It is running normally HTTP. It is not running HTTPS. For example, if I want to access it, so I go to the browser and I will put my IP address there, and I can see the site. Now this site is normally what? It is HTTP. It is not secure. So if we want to secure it, then we have to provide the certification PKI infrastructure, and for that we have to get what? The certificates. Now certificates we can get it online certification services, or we can use the self-signed certificate. That is not the secure one. Now for example, if we want to use the self-signed certificate, we will go to this IIS manager, and then what we will do, we'll select our server here, and then on the server we have this option to get the server certificate. Now even we have the certificate, we got the certificate from the online source. We can attach the certificate by using this, or we can generate the online the self-signed certificate also. When we click on it, it opens here. It says there is no certificate available, so we have option to import the certificate. So if we get the certification services, we get the certificate from the online source, then we can import it here, or we can create the certificate request for it. We can import it as a file. We can send the request to the server directly to download the certificate. We can complete the request if we have already sent the request, or we can create the domain certificate, or we can create the self-signed certificate. Now domain certificate, that means we are having a work group, we are having the Windows Active Directory domain, and from the domain we have a certificate, so we can create the domain certificate for it, or we can use the self-signed certificate. Now here we can use the self-signed certificate. Just we have to mention the name here, friendly name. Let's say this is my cert. This is for the personal use, or you want to just you want to use it for the web hosting. So I want to use for the web hosting, and now we have that certificate available here. Now if you go to the browser and if you try to access the site by using HTTPS, now I am giving HTTPS instead of HTTP. It is saying there is no, because the site is not secured by the certificate, now by the HTTPS. We have the certificate here. Now we have to select the website which we have. I don't have, I have a default site. I have to select the site, and then I have to go to here, advanced setting. I have to go to the properties of this. I have to go to the binding setting here. Now under the binding setting, right now it is HTTP, so we have to bind it to HTTPS. So after getting the certificate, we have to bind our site to use the certificate, otherwise it won't work. Right now it is only working on port 80 HTTP, so I have to add one more, and I will say okay, this what I want is HTTPS for my site for this IP address, and then the port number will change to 443, and then we can mention the certificate. That is the certificate we get generated, the self-signed certificate. So it is under the drop down. We can view the certificate also. This is the certificate we generated. Then we can select the certificate also by searching it. This is the one. So either it is in the drop down or this, we can select it, and then now our site is now ready to use the HTTPS also, and also it is working on HTTP. So it is actually work on both. I will restart it. And now when I refresh it, you can see it is now showing that it is a problem of certificate. Actually, it is actually saying that the certificate you are using it not secure. It says there is a problem with the website security certificate. The certificate presented by this website was issued for a different website address. So I'll say okay, I want to continue with it, and now it is opening. It is saying the mismatch address here. It is because I will show you what is the problem here. It is because actually the certificate friendly name must be the same name actually. I'll do what? I will remove this, or I will add one more. This is the site name. Now I added one more. I will change the binding also now. Now it is saying what? It is again saying the certificate error. Now that is because the root CA is not supporting the root CA. It is not identifying the root CA. The certificate it has taken, but it is saying that the certificate is not verified because the root CA is not verified. Root CA, the CA or certification authority server who is verifying or providing the particular certificate. Our web servers, our browser should know about that web server root certificates, root certificate providers. If you go to here, check the certificates. So in this trusted root CA, in this list we should have the name, or we should have that certificate available here. So if it is not there, because it is self-signed, so we have to upload it there, and when we upload it into that list, then it will be okay for it. Okay, then it will not show you the error here, but still the self-signed certificates are not that secure. But it is for us free, but the online services of that certification services which we purchase, that is not free. We have to pay some of amount for that, like we are using other Komodo, Versign or DigiCert, any certification services. So for the services they charge. Now countermeasures, how to defend against cryptography attacks. So first, access of cryptography keys should be given to the application or to the users directly. Then intrusion detection system should be deployed to monitor exchanging and access of keys. Then passphrase and passwords must be used to encrypt the key if stored in the disk. Then key should not be present inside the source code or binaries. For certificate signing, transfer of private key should not be allowed. Private key, just like we say that we use the self-signed certificate key. For us, for symmetric algorithm, key size of 168 bits or 256 bits should be preferred for a secure system, specifically in case of large transactions. Then message authentication must be implemented for encryption of symmetric key protocols. For asymmetric algorithms, key size of 1536 bit and 2048 bit should be considered for secure and highly protected applications. In case of hash algorithm, key size of 168 or 256 bit should be considered. Only recommended tools or products should be preferred rather than creating self-engineered crypto algorithm or functions. Put a limit on number of operations per key, and the output of the hash function should have a larger bit length, which makes it hard to decrypt also. So this is our cryptography topic, where we have seen different type of cryptographies are there and different algorithms of cryptography we have. There are some different cryptography attacks we have, and how we can configure those different cryptography things.